Hello there, welcome along to Business Today. I'm Jerapol Soko with Winnie Williams and Akauchi on Sign Language, and here to give you more from your daily report. Kickstarting it off with the custodians and depositarians value chain. As we look at this, financial institutions have raised the red flag of deteriorating performances of custodians and depositories in the financial service industry. The custodians are responsible for the safekeeping of their clients' assets and the processing of transactions whose roles are lagging behind. However, experts have created awareness as part of the solution. Let's have more of this report.
Because when you invest, certainly expect interest or coupon. So the custodian gives you that machinery to ensure that, one, you're able to pick the investment of your choice, two, confirm that those investments exist, and three, collect your entitlements for those investments.
According to experts, even though custodians and depositories perform key functions as part of the investment management value chain, reality shows that many custodians and depositories are trailing behind other players in the financial service industry when it comes to technological innovations. Stakeholders have so far tabled strategies like capacity building and creating awareness to narrow the missing link.
Is to create that to do a bit of capacity building, industry awareness and the likes, and seminars and forums like this that will create the awareness. For us, the reason for doing this today is basically about that awareness to say this parts of opportunity or business also exists, and those are some of the areas by which we sort of like take the lead, to drive some of those initiatives.
Functions are separated and independent custodians are required for services, either in pension funds, if you're investing in a pension fund through your provident fund, or if you're investing in a CIS. So the mere fact that there's separation and you cannot have under those frameworks a fund manager who is also offering custodial services is a big one in terms of investor protection. Most times people imagine that asset managers have the money with them in their offices. Okay, that's what they imagine, that the money is with you in the office, but the real person is the custodian. And so the framework provides for that sort of protection.
Other depositories' functions are cash flow monitoring and ensuring fund description. Redemptions, distribution and valuations are carried out in accordance with the rules of the fund and national law.
But if you think about it, in many markets, they are a significant contributor to the foreign exchange flows into the country, and hence why the custodial services becomes very important. It also helps to create linkages. You saw there were some of our colleagues from Standard Bank Group, so we have some of those relationships that we do have at a group level, and they partner with us when they come into various countries like Uganda and other African markets to provide that custodial service. So that's one of the key areas in terms of also helping to bolster the capital market, which is another area that they do invest in. So we're looking for the liquidity that will be pumped into the capital market. If you restrict it to just local players, you may not get the kind of uptick that you're looking for in the capital market.
Business, it is more advanced, and then the regulation is not yet there, and that's the journey we have to take. So we seriously think we're going to rely on your expertise. It's not new, we've done it in the past, so we can do the same thing, and it's not unique to Uganda. I think even the advanced economies in this country, the regulators are not the most advanced. The players are actually more advanced. I think they try to look for ways to beat the regulator, but that's part of the game.
To understand the key challenges faced by depositories and custodians and what opportunities can be leveraged for the future, we need to revisit the common definitions associated with custodians and depositories to set the scene for the upcoming walkthrough. Bedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now moving further, let's look at coffee seedlings and tea seeds in the country. To increase production and expand the market, the government will spend $93 billion to purchase coffee seedlings and the tea seeds that will be distributed to farmers through NADS and the UCDA. Farmers will get seedlings through their local representatives via registered books and village SACCOs, and this program is likely to end next month.
Uganda's largest export, coffee, significantly boosts the GDP of the nation. The government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, has declared that all coffee and tea growers in the districts where it's mostly produced will receive free seedlings and tea seeds due to the excessive rains that is currently falling. The State Minister for Agriculture, Fred Wino Chakulaga, clarified this at the media center.
Distribution of coffee and tea seedlings to farmers across the country for this current season. As you may be aware, Uganda has a recent policy shift regarding the distribution of seedlings, seeds, stocking material, and other agricultural inputs.
Emmanuel Idiamlemi, the director of the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, has also provided clarifications on the process by which growers will receive their seedlings and the seeds.
To indicate the seedlings you need, but then you have to attach a copy of your national ID. These days, there are many smartphones in the villages, so this should not be a problem. You also indicate a photo of the dark horse, because we want farmers who can demonstrate that they are actually prepared.
The executive director of NADS, Dr. Samuel Mugasi, stated that there has been a rise in tea output over the previous 10 years, which gives people in Uganda more reasons to anticipate that agriculture will lead to improved conditions and high production.
Uganda has increased from 5 million metric tons up to around 80 million metric tons. So this is a great achievement by this government and by the Ministry of Agriculture. And because of this increase in production, the number of factories has increased from 14 to now 24 tea factories across the country.
Although Uganda leads Africa in coffee exports, much of it is grain. About 6 million bags are exported, and there are at least 1.7 million people in Uganda that cultivate coffee on plots that are less than an acre in size. Desire Nambiru, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Okay, now, the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group has said something on Uganda's implications due to inflation. Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, CSPAC, has informed the public on the results of the previous fiscal year and the direction for the economy, as Ugandans are more concerned about the reactionary fiscal and monetary policies on Uganda's economy and its repercussions. Samuel Kirimunda reports.
Like what the US was in 1970s. The lesson learned from the VOCA disinflation in the 80s is that it followed multiple failed attempts to lower inflation for over 15 years. A lengthy period of very restrictive monetary policy was ultimately needed to stem high inflation. That was in the US. Our goal is to avoid that outcome by acting now.
A senior economist from Civil Society Budget Advocacy Organization, Sophie Nampeo, Njuba, provided some highlights on the economy. Why the central bank raised its central bank rate from 7.9% in July to 9%, reflecting interest rate at 19% at the lending and borrowing from the investments and private sectors. Following a deficit in our revenue correction caused by the monetary policy and the COVID-19 impact.
We still have effects going on from the COVID-19 pandemic, and seeing our revenue collections, we had a shortfall in 1920 of 3.2 trillion and 2.2 trillion in financial year 2020-2021. We hope this can pick up as we move, starting this financial year, and get to a better state. But then there's also a sharp increase in our budget deficits. Yes, we have shortfalls in revenues, and unfortunately our expenditures are not going lower also. So we still see budget deficits. We from to 7.1% and 9% 7.1 was in 1920, financial year 1920, and 9% in 2020-2021.
Dickson Katushimbwa, a former senior commissioner of URA Customs, responded to the public opinion about product subsidizers in the country, saying that it is bad for the nation. At a consultative meeting with members of parliament and the Bank of Uganda.
Subsidies are not good for economics. If you, for example, say you want subsidized fuel, you will only be worsening the situation. Kenya tried it, and the new president has removed it. Because when you say subsidy, it means you are getting revenue and using it to subsidize for other people. So I do not support the government giving out subsidies, especially consumptive subsidies. People must be able to adjust with the way of life. What I can only support are productive subsidies. For example, Kenya is giving subsidies for fertilizers for farmers, so that farmers are able to increase productivity. I think government is thinking along the same lines. Those ones can be sustained. But consumptive subsidies, to say you give money to the sugar companies or fuel companies so that the price goes down, that is bad economics.
According to Mr. Wiblod O, Executive Director of Uganda Bankers Association, the only option for the private sector to survive the current condition is to take use of chances provided by the government to compete for market share in the region.
It has tried. It is trying to open up the Congo market. Yeah. I would put a lot of effort, including turning all our cargo planes or airlines into cargo ones, to take and find market as the roads to Congo and Sudan are done. So that one, there's market, two, there's FX generated, three, the supply chain and the linkages behind the manufacturer.
It doesn't affect the monetary part, but it can help us grow. Because if UNRA, for example, we tell UNRA, please, no more constructing new roads, but let us beef your budget on operation and maintenance. So those bridges that are collapsing, you can fix them. That's very important. The roads that are impassable, you can patch them back again, so that there is be new traffic. But new roads, we can put them on hold.
Ugandans should adopt the government's suggestion to lessen the effects of current circumstances. For example, the parish development model, which will give each parish 100 million and increase household income by 39%, while eradicating poverty through production. Samuel Kirimunda, reporting for Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Samuel Kirimunda with that report. Let's move on to the Uganda National Oil Company on national content. Now, the Petroleum Technology Association in Nigeria has sent seasoned Nigerian professionals to Uganda to share knowledge with Ugandan suppliers on how Nigerian nationals were helped to tap into the supply of technologically advanced goods and services needed by the oil and gas sector in order to develop local expertise in that industry. Now, this one will encourage joint venture projects and support Ugandan enterprises in acquiring information directly from the source.
A unique body created by the Ugandan government. And we like the way, for us in Nigeria and as pattern, the way they are going about well-articulated a program for the future, such that, and they are very emphatic about the first oil by 2025. And I know from what the assurances we have had, that is something they will achieve. And then when you develop your natural resources, it goes with growth, it goes with poverty alleviation and prosperity for everybody. One thing that is instrumental is to make sure that along the way, you grow capacities and capabilities.
The chairman commended the idea of establishing a fund to oversee the wealth of Ugandan suppliers.
A deliberate effort, which is still operational, for the National Content Development Fund. It's 1% set aside from every contract from Tier 1 to Tier 2 to Tier 3, so long as you are a supplier in our service provider. And I'm happy to hear that the Ugandan National Oil Company is following the same step. It is good. It provides that fund to be able to carry everybody along the way.
Food content basically is trying to address the role of the Ugandan locals in contributing to the growth of that industry. And so far, so good, yes, because it's a lot of learning. It's a marathon, as we say. It's not a race, it's a marathon. And it's a gradual process. It keeps growing over time. And as it's growing, the Ugandan companies will begin to grow their own expertise in the industry. Yeah, but the way it is going to run for now, it's going to have to do with a lot of collaboration with those who are already experienced in the industry, like the Nigerian companies.
80% of contracts were awarded to locals. Therefore, Uganda National Oil Company continues to make clear specific standards for competing providers.
We are not an operator currently, so we follow the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority thresholds. Anything above 200 million, that is going to be an open tender that will advertise in the press. We'll also put it on our website to ensure that it's wide circulating, and any firm that meets the requirements can participate. The ones which are from 100 million to 200 million, those are restricted. Those are people who are not UNOC pre-qualified list are the ones who participate in that. The rest are RFQs. Also, those are people who are on pre-qualified list of UNOC that can participate. Registration on the NSD is very vital to register on the National Supplier Database. That is one of the requirements. You also have to have all the legal documentation in regards to the certificate of registration, certificate of incorporation. You have also trading license. All those legal documents need to be in place. Tax clearance certificates, all that has to be in place.
We are looking at partnerships where local companies are working in specialized provision of goods and services, such as the seismic acquisition and interpretation, among others. But that said and done, there are challenges that local companies are facing. And one of them is availability of financing. The oil and gas sector is heavily capital intensive.
Profitability and expansion will be essential for the Uganda National Oil Company to succeed in the oil and gas services, since the ultimate goal of the Ugandan national business is to maximize the value of shareholders and assure value production from investments. Rona Nahabwe, Business Today, Smart 24 TV.
All right, now over 160 sites have already been visited since the district's local government trained District Energy Focus says on the persons to gather energy data. Now, the districts are using this information to support evidence-based planning and budgeting. Now, speaking of which, the GIS Conference 2022 has been a fantastic forum for utility GIS specialists from Uganda and other East African community states to exchange experiences and coordinate the usage and sharing of geospatial in the utility sector. We have more of this report.
Geographical information systems have aided in achieving evidence-based decisions, improved capital city service delivery, and cost-saving outcomes. It has also improved database administration. The capacity to generate economic value from spatial data is known as location intelligence. According to Uganda Electricity Transmission Limited, to connect northern Uganda to the national grid, they might greatly benefit from the use of the GIS.
The quality and the reliable GIS has helped us expedite the process of acquiring the wayleave, because if you have a good quality system, you will know that this person, as I earlier on presented, I showed you that we are using GIS to track who has been paid and who has been paid. So when you have this properly tracked and projected on a good system where you can just go and measure by yourself, even if you're a decision maker, you can easily know that I need this particular person's plot to be paid first because this is an angle point, or this is a tower spot, other than you paying a person who is in between. So that GIS has helped us to prioritize who to pay first, or instead of you jumping from here and you paste somewhere else when you need a clear stretch for 30 kilometers, you would rather focus your efforts on the 30 kilometers. So the system will clearly show you that this person is within the prioritized area.
According to the National Planning Authority, the GIS software interface will aid in cost reduction for the government.
Most importantly, this spatial data policy will enable government to cut down on its redundant costs, because currently we have data duplication whereby you find different data collectors collecting the same data. For instance, you can find two institutions collecting the same data on roads, and we all know spatial data collection is very expensive because you have to hire a team of experts to go to the field and collect this data. Or even if you're talking about using remote services such as drones, the drones are also quite expensive to utilize. So once this policy is passed, we'll be able to reduce duplication of data across government, save more money, encourage working in a programmatic approach rather than working in silos, because spatial data enables easy integration of data. So we'll also be able to further improve on our evidence-based planning, which the National Development Plan 3 is about.
Government projects concentrating on geographical concentration, accessing to planning data, the establishment of geoportals and communication strategy for spatial data are monitored for results and implications under the National Spatial Data Infrastructure Policy. Rona Nahabwe, Business Today, Smart 24 TV.
Away from that, now we speak matters access to information for communities and people to engage in decisions that have an impact on their lives. On October 15, 2019, the United Nations General Assembly first declared this day to be a global holiday. Then, since that time, September 28th has been observed globally as an international day for information access for all to promote the value of a transparent government. Let's have more of this report.
The Constitution of Uganda was adopted in 1995, and Article 41 states that every citizen has a right of access to information in the custody of the state or any other organ of state, except where the revelation of the information is likely to interfere with the security of the state or right to privacy of any person. Consequently, the right to information access is a basic human right.
The right to information, the right to access information held by government is essential for transparent and accountable governance in a democratic society by promoting and facilitating greater public participation and scrutiny and supporting better decision-making processes. Without a free exchange of information, people cannot ably or fully be aware of what's going around them, and so they cannot meaningfully participate in their communities. The lack of citizens' access to information continues to hamper the realization of sustainable development in Africa.
The increase in internet usage and the emergence of new technologies have given information access a newfound significance and increased scrutiny. Intentionally or unintentionally, misleading information has been disseminated using technology, particularly social media platforms. However, the Computer Misuse Bill, which Honorable Nseleko privately introduced, imposes severe penalties for cybercrimes, which were recently enacted by Parliament.
Once, we have seen developments and the passing of the Computer Misuse Act, which sanctions of the public figure if accented by the government in its form. In passing the Access to Information Act in 2005 and the Access to Information Regulations in 2011 provided every Ugandan citizen a legal and constitutional right to access information held by any ministry, department, or agency of government, and this is commendable.
In Uganda, government officials tend to deny access to information to the public because of the Official Secrets Act of 1964, which makes it a criminal offense for current and former government employees to leak or provide certain types of information considered damaging. The oath of secrecy requires government officials not to communicate or reveal any matter that they come across during the discharge of their duties.
At the commencement of any occupying any office, I, for one, I have taken oaths of secrecy, and I believe other public officials, just like me, When I was first appointed a member of the Human Rights Commission, I took oath of secrecy. When I was appointed Deputy IGG, I took an oath of secrecy. When I assumed the office of Chairperson of the Human Rights Commission, I took the oath of secrecy. And I'm saying that sometimes public officials unduly hide behind the Official Secrets Act and oaths of secrecy to deny the media and the public information which is necessary for them to make important decisions.
Access to information and citizen participation can strengthen service delivery under the decentralized system of local government.
Now, access to information is very critical in delivering services under decentralization. And why it becomes critical is because we are talking about the use of power that was devolved to local governments to deliver services. And the objective was to get power closer to the people, to be used to make decisions that affect the ordinary person.
Access to information is very crucial in an organization because you cannot talk about accountability, good governance, and transparency when there is no sharing information. This is because people get to be mobilized towards a common cause through information. Monica Nabyonga, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, and many thanks for sticking with us here on Business Today. We do return after the break, so stick around. We'll be bringing you more of the Daily Report.